Good morning and welcome to Ysleta Independent School District's workshop meeting of the Board of Trustees. The meeting of the Board of Trustees is a meeting of the board that the public is allowed to attend. As provided by Ysleta ISD Policy BED, we invite members of the public to make comments during the citizens' input portion at the start of the meeting according to instructions provided with the electronic posting notice of our meeting. Legally, the board may listen but may not enter into the discussion on matters in citizens' input. This meeting of the Board of Trustees is called to order at 8:06. It says 8:06. We have a quorum with Mr. Chris Hernandez, Charlie Bustillos, Connie Woodruff, and myself, Cruz Ochoa. Catherine Lucero is unable to join us and is considered excused. Trustee Bustillos, please lead us into the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. On the Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Now can we have a moment of silence? Thank you.
Ms. Mathewson, do we have citizens' input this evening? Or this
No.
morning, I should say.
No, President Ochoa, we don't.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
This is a workshop and no vote will be taken on any matter to date. Dr. Latorre, do we have any presentations this morning?
Yes, sir. Good morning, President Ochoa, members of the board. At this time, I'd like to welcome and invite Dr. Lizzie Johnson, the CEO of Transcend 4, to guide us through the new strategic action planning process. Dr. Johnson.
Okay, great. Good morning. Hello, how are y'all? It's so great to be here. I always love coming here. It's one of my favorite places. Great to see you. So if you'll recall, the last time we met, when was that? May? I think that was May. It's been a while. I laid out the strategic action plan process and how we were going to gather the committee, and that was right at the beginning when we were planning and thinking about all of the things. And so since then, we've done a lot of work and a lot of collaboration and a lot of thinking about what this looks like for your communities and how we want to ensure that we put together the best committee and have the best information for them so they can make some very important decisions for your students. So this morning, we are going to review mission, vision, core beliefs, and motto and get feedback from you. And then I would like for you to talk a little bit about your campus visit experiences that you've had recently, and maybe even think about how that ties into what you're hoping to see with the committee and the work that they are going to do as we move forward in this process. Because I think that's very important, the look-fors that you've seen on campus and how that's going to roll into the priorities that the committee is going to come up with. We're also going to talk a little bit about the process again, just to reinforce the draft or the agenda and the things that the committee will be doing. Just a reminder, I know we went over some of this already last time we met, but I just want to remind you of those things. So the strategic action planning process, these are the 4 things that we're really hoping the committee comes together and gets accomplished in the time that they're going to be working this upcoming school year. We want them to clarify the vision, mission, core values, and motto. Well, that's what you are doing and that we've put together for your review. We want to speak with one voice as a district, as a community, travel in the same direction, and then support students in all areas of their education. And so the priority focus areas, if you'll recall, are the tables that each group has been assigned to. And that's what will make up the plan, the process. And so what we want to ensure is that we're not just talking about content and math and history and all of the subjects. We want to talk about the whole child and making sure that every student has a place and that our teachers feel valued as well and that the district moves in the right direction. So the end result of the strategic action plan is a statement of the district's guiding strategy on what it intends to accomplish and the key initiatives for achieving it. And it's all going to be put together, and we're very excited. And we were talking this morning, Dr. De La Torre and I, it's so great because we're going to have students on this committee. And I think that's very powerful because your students are your clients. And if you're not listening to them, you're missing the boat, right? And so just picture in this room, each table having a student representative from a learning community who is going to be giving input and talking to the adults in the room. That's what's even more exciting, is that the adults will gravitate toward them and ask their opinions and talk to them about the things that are most important. So just to review, if you'll recall, this room will be filled with tables, and each table will have a focus. And so these are our focus areas that we have determined. Safety and security, obviously top of the list. Financial stability, culture and climate, CCMR, our early education, academics, special populations, and parent community engagement. So I want you to envision the table having a whole just group of people from around these communities with your student. Maybe we'll probably have a teacher or two at each table, a campus leader, and then business owners and community members from your learning community, and parents and alumni. And that's who will be in this room putting this plan together. And so each table will focus on something specific, but the room will own all of it, because during the process, we will have times where the tables can collaborate. So no one will ever leave this room at the end and say, well, I just didn't know what safety and security was doing over there, and I didn't understand their thinking and what they were putting together. They will have time to always get together to talk to the other tables, and not just to know what was happening, but also to give critical feedback, because we want everybody to own this together, right? Because since it's for the entire district. And so also at these tables, you're going to have district experts. And so at our financial stability table, I would assume Ms. Leeper will be there, but maybe someone from her staff that's very adept in school finance. And so they're not there to write the plan for the table group. They're there to help guide and support. Because as you know, there's a lot of intricacies in those things that some of our committee members won't have that knowledge. And so we will make sure we have a content expert at the table. And I think this morning we were discussing some of the other tables and who will be seated there. Do you want to share any of those, or?
I think what we've arrived at is that I, with the support of Chief Holguin, Francis Yepes, are going to assume responsibility for providing information feedback to the safety security group. Lindley Lieber is in fact going to lead the financial stability. Culture and climate. In the past, culture and climate was closely tied to parent community engagement and communication, and so Bobby will be in one of those two. The one she's not in will assign to someone who works closely with the community, with the volunteers, with the partners in ed, that type of thing. CCMR used to be baked into just academics, but we're going to make a distinction. Dr. Chacon will obviously take the lead on academics, and then she will assign two of her people to assume responsibility for early education, and CCMR could very well be, for example, Mr. Hugo Martinez, who is our lead over at the Career Tech Ed Center, Riverside High School. And then special populations could include staff from our special ed department, David Medina, staff from our emerging bilingual department, Ana Esqueda, but there will be one or two that will, I think as you pointed out, allow the rest of the group to just talk openly and freely and just pull them back in when there's maybe some kind of ed code requirement, some kind of TEA requirement. We can't do that. Someone may say, for example, I'd really like you guys to think about starting your early ed program for 2-year-olds. And well, we're prohibited from doing that for a number of reasons. The age, there is no financial support. So you just kind of but you want to keep giving the group the responsibility of arriving at those things. So it's kind of a two-part. Those things that they think should be priorities, and then the real important part for the leadership is, how will you know if you've met them? In other words, what methodology, how will you measure, yes, it's happening, no, it's not happening, or in some cases it could be, a gradient, a Likert-like scale, to what extent is it or not happening? And then the board and the group would decide, for example, currently when we take a survey, as part of our scorecard, as part of the superintendent's evaluation, the board has said, whether it's the parent or whether it's the teacher or whether it's the instructional leadership team, when they do the survey, our expectation is that you stay at 4.0 or above, between 4 and 5, because if you get into the 3s, then we're going to have to maybe start meeting and trying to discuss why is it that the teachers are all of a sudden landing at 3.2 or 3.4 when for 10 years they're 4.2, 4.3. So that becomes kind of a tricky thing, because oftentimes they talk from a subjective, sort of emotional place, and it's our responsibility to operationalize it in a way that you can measure it. And then what will end up happening is, at the end, when we present y'all with their results, you need to decide whether or not you can endorse that, or whether or not you'd like to expand or reduce. But what is important to us is that you understand that this is a reflection of what your community has said are the priorities. This is how we hope to measure it. Then it transfers to a scorecard and the superintendent's evaluation, and it sort of defines our work for the next 5 years. This is what we want to accomplish.
Definitely defines it, absolutely. And so each of these areas will have an opportunity to do a presentation to the entire group about their area. So not only will safety and security know their portion, but they'll know all of these others very well. So the point is to build the capacity in the room, so we have a lot of people who understand a lot of smart things about the district. So it's not just that each table will only get their own data and information. They're going to hear about everything. And that's what you want, because you want them to own the plan and be committed. Any questions so far about any of this? Comments? Okay. Oh, yes, sir.
I see all these areas, but I'm a little concerned of how we're going to measure some of these. Some of these are subjective, which is okay, but I'd rather see more metric than subjective. I know some of them you can't put that on there. So we got to be careful at how we frame this, so we can be as open-minded as we can, instead of just putting some of these areas in a very fragile position where, subjective opinions could be a negative impact instead of being a positive impact.
Sure. No, we definitely want to tie the measurement to it that makes most sense, and we want to highlight the good that's happening, but we always want to move to continuous improvement. So we don't want to put a burden on any group that isn't reachable, but we also want to make sure that we're achieving the best possible data and numbers that we can for the kids.
Yeah, because eventually it'll all lead to his evaluation, so.
Yes, sir.
I just want to make sure that we.
And the scorecard, you're right.
I want to make sure that we have a clear path to that,
Yes, sir.
instead of having a lot of ambiguity that will just make everything more difficult in the end.
Totally understand. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
So when you're talking about the committee sending this up to us, I think that we as a group have to be very careful not to just take that down, because the thing is, if they are sharing this with us and they're interested in being on our committees and they're working with us, and then we just reconstruct the whole thing some way or another, which I don't really think we'll do, but I think we really need to be careful not to make too many things that are big changes that totally disagrees or I don't know.
No, I understand what you're
Yeah,
saying.
please.
This group is going to be very intense. Like, the amount of information they are going to get it's incredible. And so this is almost like them going to school at night and hearing all of these things and learning them. And they're going to have pre-work before the meetings, and they're going to have work after the meetings too. So it's a big commitment. And I agree with you. You know, if they've spent the time to come in here and really learn and be guided by the experts, they're going to put together a very solid plan for the district and for the students.
So that's what I'm thinking about our heads. They're going to need to kind of make sure that, because you guys know us, and
Right.
that it can come for that we will be able to support it, I think.
Oh, I love that. Yes, absolutely.
Do we have a timetable for this?
Yes, sir. We have dates set and everything. Yeah, we
because
start in late October is the first meeting.
After we get this information and we talk to them, how long between us do we have to discuss each of these items so we can provide the feedback?
I'm going to have to look at the calendar to see when the committee
I mean,
finishes.
not days, but at least have a
Yeah.
session where we could, a workshop where the board could sit together and go through each item, presentation, and then we can have discussion and somebody could take the notes.
Yeah, what I envision is that the process will culminate in April, before things get maybe a little bit too busy with elections and graduations and all of that.
Right.
And there may be some things that they arrive at that we need to initiate so they're ready to go July 1st, which is the first day of your next 5-year strategic action plan. There are a number of ways we can do it. One is you can obviously have another workshop environment like this where not the entire group of people would present to you, but that they would select some spokespeople that would walk you through where they arrived, and then the board would have a chance to ask questions. Or I could see 7 of them coming, or the number that's up there, 8, and each one of them saying, this is what we arrived at, like at a Saturday workshop or even at a workshop before your board meeting, and then you having until the next time you meet to kind of read it and look over it. When it becomes an action item on your agenda, maybe that evening somebody shows up in the event that you have any questions, it becomes I think, very much a partnership toward the end where you get a chance to sort of digest where they've arrived. They get a chance to present to you and show you that they've really come a long ways. They've learned a lot, but this is really what they think we need to focus on. Because it's important that over that next 5-year period, when someone says, you guys aren't doing enough about this, that you can look them in the eye and say, we went through a very comprehensive process, and that really never surfaced as one of the 8 goals that the Strategic Action Planning Committee arrived at as what should be the priorities. And it helps you with where you spend your money, it helps you with how you staff and all of those things. But you will have ample opportunity to really think about where they arrived and to hear their presentation before it becomes an action item at your board meeting. I'm guessing either in April might be a good target so that you can focus on, the election in May.
Yeah, I just didn't want it for myself, to be a long process, because then we tend to put it back, we have so many other things to do. I don't want to put it on the back burner and say, oh yeah, I forgot about that. I'd rather it be like 2 weeks or something like that, 2 weeks, and get it done. The other thing that you just brought up was how during the 5 years that things could change, and one of them was, I saw there, number 1, it wasn't a priority when we did the last one 5 years ago, but safety and security has sure been prominent now, in all, not only here at Ysleta, but nationwide. So those are, how do we address those in our action? Do we have a way to modify it or include it or?
Oh, okay, so this document, good morning. This document is living. So at no time will it be just final. It's always evolving. So every year, my recommendation to the leadership is to stop and review and basically have what you call a milestone meeting to see where everything has gone since the last year and what the data looks like. And if you have to make adjustments based on new regulations, new things from the state, or just the climate that you're in, then you can. And the committee will understand that because I will explain that to them throughout the entire process. Yes, sir.
Yeah, like a perfect example would be if, for example, the state got away from the A to F accountability system and introduced a new accountability system where a letter grade would no longer apply. We'd have to come back to you and say, now we need to take all of those measures on the A to F accountability system, and we need to migrate to whatever the new system is so that it's relevant to not just the board, but also relevant to our principals and our teachers, et cetera. So yeah, at any point, any year, we can revisit and we can amend, modify, delete, add, those type of things.
That would require board action.
Yes, sir. And I would be available to the district to come and help and lead them through all of those items. That's part of my give back to the district.
I think this document has to be a living document.
Yes, sir.
And be very dynamic and be able to transform itself according to what's happening.
Right. We don't want to print it and put it on a shelf.
No.
No. Mm-mm. Thank you.
I have a quick question.
Yes, sir.
I'm just going to circle back of what we just talked about. I think the committees are going to be chosen for each learning community, or is it going to be a school, or I didn't understand that part.
So what we've already done is we've already gone around and we've looked at possible central office leadership and possible principals that we think carry a lot of respect and reputation in your feeder pattern. High school principals, for one, are pretty important because they lead the PLCs. Mm-hmm. And then we're going to shrink that down. I'm going to use the Superintendent's Advisory Council for my kids because they need opportunities for colleges and universities, their little resumes, and I thought this would be a great way for them to get an education about what happens district-wide and how many different things there are. And then the help that we're going to get from you and principals is I need a requisite number of parents from anywhere in your community, not any one school, and I need some people that you think need to be on there because they're civic leaders, they're business leaders, they're people. Everybody in the community looks up to them, and so it would be good to have these people. And so when we get done with it, we will probably have to let some of the administrators that were recommended off the committee. The kids will stay, the parents will arrive. I got to have the teachers and some union representation so they don't down the road throw it in our face and say that YTA and the West Texas, the new group, weren't invited, weren't included. But the one thing we will tell them is that anytime that we meet with the committees, it's an open meeting. If you're that interested and you want to see what's going on, we'll have seating back there so that you can attend. You just will not be part of the working group. Mm-hmm. But the idea is, and that's really what's important, that between now and October, I know you're all very, very busy, but that you give me, 5, 6 people that you absolutely would like to see as part of this process.
Perfect.
Yeah, we have to get those invites out so they get committed. We want them at every meeting. That's very important because if they miss some content, it disrupts the end process.
And Justine, I know we talked about maybe in April having this done, but maybe, this is and May is our election, and some of us will be going through election. Maybe we do it a little sooner, maybe like March.
You want us to accelerate it a little bit?
Well, no, just move it up a little bit so that way we get it done sooner.
Yes.
I don't know if that could be,
Yeah, we can meet more regularly than every other month. We can pull it back and it become, a monthly meeting. or a meeting every 3.5 weeks, something like that.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, we can visit the calendar. Yes, sir.
Hi, good morning.
Morning.
You said that our dates have already been set for,
We do have dates set, just based on my calendar and my availability, we've put those out there already. We haven't sent them to the committee yet because we haven't invited anyone, but they can be modified if needed.
what day of the week and what time would these meetings be happening?
I'd have to look at the calendar.
I think it's very important that we pick a day of the week and a time that is going to be most convenient for most people. I know at is it CIAC, trying to get parents or the non-parents or the business leaders into those meetings. I've had a lot of yeses, but it's like, oh, I can't at that time because I'm still at work. They're meeting like at 3 p.m. during
Oh, no,
the week.
these are evening meetings.
So they're all going to be in the
Yes, sir, they're
evening.
all in the evening. We have a light dinner at 5:30. We start the meeting, it's from 6 to 8.
It'll probably be like on a Thursday, maybe?
I'm not sure.
Tuesdays.
Tuesdays?
They're Tuesdays. Okay, that's where we set them now.
Okay.
Yes,
Because,
sir.
yeah, I know as I start approaching community members, that's going to be their first question.
Yeah, and we can get y'all that information out. We have it on a full document with all of the agendas and everything.
Okay, great.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so if you could send that to us, I think that would be really helpful.
Okay. Can we send that to the board, that planning and logistics document that has all the dates on it? Okay, great. We'll get that to you ASAP.
How
Yes, sir.
many meetings are there going to be?
My shoe just came untied. There is 5 meetings and then the board meeting. And back to what Dr. De La Torre said, when the process and the plan is presented to the board, each group that you see up here will have 2 representatives who will present their work. So they own it, they're very familiar with it, and they will be telling you the entire story of how they got to the point where they created the objectives and the measurements and the action steps. Okay? All right. Any more questions? Okay, all right, let's move on. So we reviewed this in May when I was here with you last time, but just as a reminder, these are the agendas that we are going to use for the meetings. And, the first meeting is a lot of welcome, get to know you, talk about the process, what our end game is, what we want to have come out of the process. And then we'll review all of the things that you have been, or will be presented today. And then we'll review the priority focus area teams and we'll start the presentations. So like I said a minute ago, all of those focus areas will have a specific presentation that they will give to the committee about their area. And in those presentations, they are going to focus on where we've been, where we are, and where we need to go in order to have improvement for our students. And so you can see we're also going to create a graduate profile, which is very exciting. This committee will own that. And it will be, what is an Ysleta ISD graduate look like? And that's a very powerful thing that you can use in your community because you want your community to understand these are the goals for every graduate that we want our graduates to look like when they leave our school district. We'll continue with our focus area presentations, finalize our grad profile, and then finalize all the rest of the presentations that we have. And then we'll talk about gap analysis. Some of the people in the room, they understand when they want to move to doing something better, they have to set goals and they have to think about those things. But I need them to understand a gap analysis. It's not that anything's wrong in the district, but we always want to move toward continuous improvement and improvement for our students. So there's the gap. And I really dive into this with them. So as they start creating their plan and they're part of the plan, they understand what they need to be thinking about. And they will start working on the plan that night. At meeting 4, that's the entire meeting, creation of their objectives, action steps, and measurements. But the greatest thing that happens in these groups is they go home and they work on it at home. They start setting up Google documents and sharing it, and they get excited. And this is such a positive atmosphere in this room because all we're talking about is students and students becoming better in everything they do. So they really take this and own it. And then they come back to meeting 5 and we finish the creation of everything. We do a gallery walk. They get to see all of the other work, and they get to comment and write little notes and feedback and all of that. And then the final part of that night is the teams get right back together with their work, and they get to edit it. It will all be put together in a executive summary format for the board and then for the district to use. What we do in the end is we make sure the verbiage is aligned, because this is a document your community will see. We want it to look very professional. We want it to have a very nice ring to it when people read it. And so we're going to make sure the words flow well. We're not going to change the work, but we want to make sure that the sentences and everything have a lot of good, solid background to them. And so we will do that through my company. And then it will be presented to you. And so, yes, Mr. Ochoa, we definitely want to give you time to review and to give feedback. And I like that idea of a workshop setting. I think that's a great idea for the groups to present their work, for y'all to have Q&A time with them. That's maybe not in such a formal board meeting, right? Any questions about the agendas? And these are 2-hour meetings, and they are timed specifically. So no one will ever be here past 8 o'clock. We're very specific on agendas and timed. Even the presentations are timed. And I do that on purpose, because when you ask someone to give of themselves to do this work, you can't keep them past the time you tell them you're going to be finished. It's just a respect, right? Questions? Yes, sir.
Get us a copy of that.
Yes, that's what we're going to send you. It has all the dates, all the times, and then if we need to alter anything, we can. But this is all in that document that I was speaking of. Yes, sir. Okay. All right. So, for the past 3 months, we have been crafting some statements, updating and editing your current statements. And some of these, remember, you didn't have, and some you did, that were long-standing and needed a refresh. So I'm just going to give you a minute to read through the vision statement that has been put together for your review today. So if you'll remember, vision is what you're looking toward. It's where you're going. It's where you want to see the district moving toward. That's the vision statement. And so what has been put together here is that overall you want to improve the lives of the students. And you want to make sure there's no gaps. And so that's the vision of the district. We want to ensure that every student has the opportunity for high quality education, no matter what learning community they're in, no matter what part of town they live in, that they all have that ability. And then we also want to make sure that they have those soft skills that students need, like, as I was saying earlier, the whole child, confidence, creativity, conceptual thinking. And ultimately, our goal is to have a student that leaves Ysleta ISD. Not all will go to college, but so we want to make sure that they're either college, career, and community ready. Because the goal of every public school district in the state of Texas is to produce good citizens, because the majority of them will stay in your community. And you want to make sure that you have good citizens who've stayed, who've been educated, and are ready to go out and serve your community. And so that's what we move toward when putting the vision statement together. So I'm just going to open up the floor for any comments or suggestions. Yes, sir.
The mission statement reads okay. To me, it just lacks a little bit of a spark.
Okay.
I think it has to be more, what's the word? Something that we can grasp on and say, this is what we want to have happen in the next 5 years. And I'm not saying that mine is great, but I just want to read something
Sure.
to you so you can get an idea.
Okay.
And I'm going to use the words that you have up there. The vision of the Ysleta Independent School District is to ignite our students' potential, providing the catalyst for learning and creativity, giving them the power to build a greater, brighter future.
Okay. Thank you.
So to me, I'm looking more for a glow in what mission, our vision statement.
Okay.
Because that is our vision.
Okay,
That is great, but it's like, it's just low-key.
okay,
So maybe some words in there that, even the first one, to improve the lives by eliminating opportunity gaps, that threw me off right away. So I don't know how the other board members feel about this.
I think that the statement says what we want it to say, but I kind of agree that we just need to add a little kick to it.
Okay.
The word ignite, that's one of those words that could be put in there somewhere.
Mhm.
And, because this does say exactly what we want to do, but I think maybe he's right, just a
Yeah,
little
since
bit of,
it's our
a
vision,
little
I
kick.
think we need to get people, get them enthusiastic about what Ysleta, why Ysleta is different
Okay.
from everybody else. Yeah, we teach, we do with safety. Well, I want them to think that we have a more vision that is really encompassing for a brighter future.
okay, okay,
Not just the academic part, but
Sure.
something more. And even, I had it in my mission statement, it's for the social and emotional program part as well, because that's really, right now, a big factor in how our students are at school. They need to be, feel confident, need to feel safe. They need to feel that they can achieve anything that they set their mind to. So even though this is good, but I just think it's just like I'm reading from a book that is just
Generic.
generic.
okay.
I got a little comment. I'm not an English major or anything, but this is good. I think, like, I'm going to piggyback off President Ochoa's. And like he said, I also saw eliminating opportunity gaps. I don't think we need to put that in there. I think we are ready to do great things. We are the best district in this county. And I think sweet and to the point is what we need, kind
Okay.
of like President Ochoa said.
Okay.
Other than that, it does state everything. I just think it's a little, maybe with those being a little too wordy. But
Okay.
again, I'm not an English major, so that's just my
No,
opinion.
that's great feedback. Are you typing? Okay, thank you. I just want to make sure.
He had some.
Yes, sir.
I like it. I really wouldn't change it. I do like the word ignite. We are the best school district in El Paso County by far, I think. But that doesn't mean that there isn't room for
That's
improvement.
right, always.
I think opportunity gaps are a real thing that exist. Even at YISD, as good as we are, I think it's worth acknowledging. And I really like that we have the word community in there, community ready.
My favorite too.
We always talk about being college and career ready, which is of course important. But yes, being not just good citizens in the community, but being able to be
Ready to join.
active and what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but just where they can do the most.
Engaged in their community, yeah, giving
for
back.
themselves, to understand how
Right.
community works,
Sure.
to understand how, local government works and how it all ties in together.
Absolutely. I think that word community has a lot of different meanings, not just about
Good point.
volunteering and giving back in your area, but also being engaged in your local government and doing things to make your community better, right? And that's the kind of kids you want to produce out of your school district that
Yeah.
have that ability.
I think he brought up a good point, that a lot of our community members really don't understand how our government works. That why do we have a county government? Why do we have a city government? Why do we have
Sure.
school boards?
board.
Why do we have all this? And they just assume that somebody else knows, and instead of being informed and then that's why I think community ready encompasses more than just being a positive influence in the community. It's more about knowing not only the community here in El Paso, but even worldwide.
Sure.
What the,
Sure.
what the community is, so.
I
think a
like
little
the,
bit of
I'm sorry.
changes to
I
that.
didn't mean to interrupt.
Huh? Oh, you made a
I'll
joke.
let you. Yeah?
What? Who? You want to know if I'm done?
He's asking.
Oh, okay, no, go ahead, just jump in.
Thank you,
This is a
Mr. Cruz.
workshop. This is a workshop, not a formal.
I like the word ignites, and I'm
Okay.
looking at the vision statement. It says students have a high-quality education that instills and ignites the confidence, creativity, and conceptual thinking students need to graduate. Ignites, I think, would work there. You know, you want to ignite their creativity. You want to ignite their confidence. You know, and I think that's something that our schools should do.
And maybe even flip those, because I would think ignite comes first and then you instill.
Well, as a school teacher, I think that's the goal of every school teacher, to have their student ignite something that would be of interest to them so they can be engaged with not only
Sure.
in their classroom, but throughout their school career. And that is ignite, to me, is more like, oh, the light came on. For me, it came on
You can see it.
a little later, you know, it was like, oh, you know, so that's that oh moment but that was done because of a teacher that I had that made me
Sure.
realize that I could do a lot more than I thought I could. So, you know, it's just something. This is not
Just some small edits we need to make, and we're going to do that, and then we're going to send that to y'all to review, because we just need to get it ready before the October meeting.
Yeah, I just don't want us to sound blah, 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 blah.
Sure.
I just want
No,
something
I
that
understand.
would be inspiring to not only our district, but to other districts as well.
And to other parents.
And parents, of course.
Okay, so that's what we'll work on this. Bobby's got my notes for me, so she's getting it for me. Okay, good. Okay, so then we move on to our mission. Our mission is current. This is what we do and what we do as a district. I'm going to give you a few minutes to read through this one.
You ready for comments?
Yes, whenever you're ready. Yes, sir.
I like it.
Okay. Ms. Woodruff, did you have a comment?
This is what a mission statement should state. What are we going to do? What is?
That's right. This is what we do.
To address. And this one can be a little more on the level of a working level, that this is actually, we're putting forth to the community. This is what we're going to do, and that's what our mission is.
Thank you.
Well, for me, I got about halfway through and I started drifting off. So to me, it's just a little bit too long, especially, I mean, not for people like us particularly who are, you know, going to be looking and examining and reading and everything, but it just seems like it's a little bit wordy, and it has some words in it that are kind of higher. It just depends on who your audience is going to be for this one, in my opinion.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
Is it biliterate? That was the word for me.
that's one. I mean, biliterate is one that you have, unless you're involved in education, I don't know that you necessarily know what that means.
Yeah, this one has to be a little bit more clear so the parents can read it.
Yeah,
Right,
I agree.
that's what I'm saying. To me, because if you're going to get bogged down in, okay, what are they talking about, then you're not going to finish the thought, finish reading it and finish, I mean, I can obviously see that it's going to exactly where we want to go. And it doesn't have that same thing where every kid's going to go to college and, that we've had in the past. That's taken out. But I just feel like it needs to be a little more, yeah, a little crisper, maybe just a little more concise and using words that are not quite as,
Yeah,
well-
we struggled with biliterate, and I think Lindley says it best. You can be bilingual but not biliterate, but you cannot be biliterate and not bilingual. So biliterate means that not only do you speak,
You read.
speak Spanish and English, but you actually read, write, think in Spanish. And one of the things that we struggled with was that in your previous either mission or vision statement, there seemed to be a lot of emphasis on, multiple languages, right? Which I thought was kind of low-hanging fruit given where the district is located, where the majority of our kids have already met the goal when they arrive in kindergarten of being bilingual, right? And then someone brought up that it goes beyond language, and that being biliterate can also include that not only can you and do function in English, but you know how to code, you know how to program, and that in itself is a separate and distinct kind of language and a way to communicate. And we've always kind of pushed STEM and trying to get stronger in our STEM programs that could biliterate. Although now that I'm thinking about it, for 9 out of 10 people in the households, they're not going to know any of this. They're going to kind of just. So we need to figure out a way to say that it's about not just language, but being able to communicate in what do they call code? The ones and the twos.
Coding.
Binary code, because a lot of why the conceptual thinking is there, and I think it's important, is because the world is accelerating so quick that they need to be ready to just pivot and head in a completely different direction. So what we can do with this one is we can work on making it more concise and making it more family-friendly in terms of the language.
Okay.
That's what I'm
That's what I
saying.
got.
Family friendly in terms of language. Got it. Okay.
I agree.
Anyone else? Okay. All right. So we'll work on that one. And then here are our core beliefs. So they all start out as the beginning of the sentence, the Ysleta student. And then notice they all begin with receives. I'm going to give you a few minutes to look through this. And feel free to give us your feedback.
I think it's great. I don't know, I can't think of something at the moment that I would change. I really like the last point, being sensitive to the diverse needs of the community. When I was campaigning for this position, I ran into a lot of voters that said, well, I don't have a student at the district. I don't have a family member that's employed by the district. And I really felt challenged on why they should even care to vote. in the election at all, or care what's happening at the district at all. Because I'm one that believes that the community needs to understand there is an investment. We're producing, the future citizens that are going to be taking care of all of
Y'all.
us.
That's right.
And I think we can do things to help those community members that don't feel as invested in what we're doing at the district to understand like it's still important and we still need their input and participation.
I agree 100%. Mr. Bustillos?
I really like the way we involve, our students and community in a lot of this. Being out there with my constituents and, a lot of the constituents of my fellow board members, a lot of people, a lot of our parents bring back their students because they had a great experience with their community.
Right.
And they want their kids to have that same experience. And I think those core values is what they carry, and now their kids will carry that. And a lot of our kids come back to the school, and they can be from all over the place, but they know they had a great experience with those core values at their school, so they'll bring them right back. So I do enjoy that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I like the number 4, to receive optimal support through a collaborative model that promotes parents and community inclusivity, engagement, and I think I like that one. But the one I think that I wrote myself, but it's not there, is about equity.
Okay.
And equity, that the student will receive the resources and opportunities for them to succeed, and that all students will receive the same resource, well, not the same, but the opportunities that. So
Maybe in the second one, that could be a part of the second one, since we do talk about to discover all the promise and potential in every student. Maybe we could find a way to add
include it-
equity to that.
include it. Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I just would like the other four that I wrote down, they're included in there somehow.
Okay. Well, good.
And,
That's awesome.
so,
Great. Yeah, that's what we'll do. Mr. Ochoa, we'll find a way to add that into that second one. I think that would be a good fit for that one, talking about equity.
Equity.
Yes, sir.
For the students. And that's, I think, has been one of our goals since I came on board and for all board members, that no matter who the student is, what school they go to, or where they live, they all have the same opportunity to be successful by Ysleta providing the resources and opportunities to them that they would, any student in our district should receive the same,
Yes, sir.
or even,
Even
just
better.
have
Yeah.
it available to them.
That's right.
So.
My favorite one is the last one, because it specifically mentions the Board of Trustees, because I think that sometimes the people in the community just look at us as people who are sitting on a dais. They don't even really listen to our words. And I like that thought being put out there that the Board of Trustees are supposed to be active, visible, engaged listeners, and model integrity and transparency, because I think that's really important, that they can understand what we're supposed to be doing too. So
Yes, ma'am.
I like that one.
Thank you.
And that has been one of our goals since we came on board, is to make sure that the Board of Trustees are part of the community. that they're
Visible.
engaged with the community. That's why some of our board members go out and visit the schools and be visible, and they go to the games, and they go, whatever it is. But, they make themselves available to the communities, so if they have any questions, they certainly can bring them back up here to the board, or to Dr. La Torre or his staff, that this is a community that this is a district that is working together with the community, so we can hear their concerns if they have any, and if we could also hear how we can improve ourselves. So that last one does have that tone, that we are not just sitting up there in the diocese making decisions. We are we all live in the community, so we
right.
have a big stake as to what's happening.
Very good. I agree 100%. And honestly, that's what makes you all so unique. I work all over the state, and it is always very special to be here and to know about how vested you are in your communities. You don't see that a lot. And so sitting on the board is very important to you because you are representing, you know who you're representing. It's different in other school boards. So I just
wanted to mention, piggybacking on what Mrs. Woodruff said, after the Board of Trustees and Superintendent, senior level leadership who are active, visible, and engaged listeners, we're very fortunate to have our senior leadership. Sometimes I'm amazed at how many visits people like Mrs. Leeper and Dr. Jacon and Bobby Russell and Priscilla, how engaged they are with the schools and community. I believe they help the trustees immensely.
Yeah, that's another thing that makes y'all special. You don't see that everywhere either. There's not many superintendents who can speak to all of their data like your superintendent can, and that's because he has good leaders around him. But that's a special thing. It is. So, okay, great. So we're going to make that adjustment. We'll update that second statement. Okay, so then finally is our motto. This was one that rose to the top, and excellence by design. So I want to get some feedback from you all.
And I guess what I'm trying to explain by using this is that we've never been someone that kind of just leaves it to chance or to fate. We all, and I'm talking about the board, governance, obviously the folks around me and behind me, we really believe that to be excellent, it has to be intentional, it has to be purposeful, that it's not going to happen by itself. And all you have to do is kind of look around the state or even look around this region, and you've got plenty of examples where people just assume everything will just work itself out. And so we've probably been accused sometimes of being super prescriptive, always adhering to like what we believe are the systems that need to be in place to be a successful school district. And so one of the hardest questions I always have to answer is at the beginning of every year, the media wants to know what's going to be new, what's going to be different, what's going to be exciting in this school year. And sometimes the answer is nothing. We're going to keep doing what we've always done. We're going to keep having the same systems. We're not looking for the flavor of the day. We're not looking for the next great curriculum. You know, we're not opposed to something coming in and helping us. But teaching and learning is teaching and learning, and we believe that way back in probably as early as 2015, we introduced systems that were pertinent and applicable then as they are today. And the last thing that really teachers and administrators want is somebody who every year brings in something new. Here's some more training. We're going to have to do some new professional development. By the way, we're not going to use this curriculum anymore. We're going to use this curriculum. And it just keeps their world like our teachers, everybody knows, very, very little is going to change about how we run this school district. And very little should change because for over a decade, it's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but it probably has had the most consistency of a board in terms of their goals and objectives for our kids and our families, which is another thing that's unique about this district is they love the kids and they want to make sure that it's all about kids, but they also understand that if teachers aren't happy, then it has an adverse impact on kids. If parents aren't happy, then it has an adverse impact on kids. So it is about kids, but it really is about all of the different elements that make up a community. And yes, it's by design. It's not, we don't just wake up one morning and say, I wonder what's going to happen today. Everything is pretty prescriptive in terms of what, and it makes it easier for principals, it makes it easier for teachers and support staff to know this is just how we do things in this district. And it's not going to change next year unless it has to. Obviously, we have shown that we can change pretty quickly when someone says, hey, by the way, you're not coming back to school after the intercession. And kids won't be coming back for the foreseeable future, and yet we're able to, because of what's in place, go right to, learning from home, getting the teachers what they need, those type of things. So we're capable of change and managing change, but only when you need to.
I like it. Everything that Dr. De La Torre said is exactly what that says. But that's just a bougie way of saying it.
It is totally bougie. I
Yeah.
got bougie on that one.
He's right about change. I think I only had a brief career in teaching, and that was, but I did understand the anxiety that a teacher has when things are changed from one semester to the other or from one year to the other, and then having to go through a whole learning process, and you yourself always feel like you're behind. You're always trying to do catch up, but then it's a disservice to the students because you yourself don't feel the confidence that you are keeping up with what's been dictated for or told to you to do for that school year. So we're always like 2 weeks behind instead of feeling confident that this is, I think, works, this is what will happen in the classroom. And it's been proven not only district-wide, but in your own little classroom, each teacher has their own design of how they're going to teach. It's not a dictated across the district. It's left up to the administrator. It's left up to the teachers in math or whatever works for them. They're going to go for it, and that is, I think, that's part of the design. That it's not. It's something that has been proven over the years, as Dr. La Torre has been here for quite a while. But it has been proven that it does work. It does work, that change can be done only if it's needed or if it's something that we think will improve our schools in one way or the other, or our students. So I like that, excellence by design, because it's always been like that. It has to be like that. You can't just go from day to day and, oh, no, now we're going to do this. Oh, no, because I heard it over here, or I heard it, because our district is unique.
Yes, sir.
This is a model I could get behind. I understood it right away, even before Dr. De La Torre's explanation, which is important for a model. We want parents to get it right away. I'm curious, though. You said this one rose to the top. What were the other suggestions?
We just put words around and.
District of Champions, it's been the district, which is probably going to always kind of be out there. Models are sort of, I guess, just people throwing stuff around, and then you kind of just, you try to become more concise, to just get it down to what you can, but certainly not etched in stone. That right there is mayonnaise on a hot summer sidewalk. It can go fade like that if somebody comes up with one. I just thought it'd be something that people will never forget.
I'd rather, I like it, but the district is identified across the state now. We are.
And I think, yeah, like what he said, I don't know if you're ever going to get away from that.
No.
You know?
They said, oh, you're the district, you're Ysleta. Oh, They recognize you as from
Yeah.
that. So,
I mean, it's on every one of your shirts. Well,
Yes.
but I give you a pass today. But yes, I don't think you'll ever shake that, Mr. Ochoa. I think that's embedded here and across the state as well. You're right. When I post things about Ysleta and I say the district, everybody's like, I know what you're talking about. It's so great. Yeah. Ms. Woodruff, did you have a comment?
The part I like the best about it is the design at the end, because I agree with what everybody said. I'm a teacher. Nobody likes to, oh yeah, this year we've added this, and you need to get behind this or whatever, and you're struggling all year just to keep the kids going, but yet you're still have this in your mind trying to, whatever. I like the design part of it. I also like the thought, too, that we're not going to throw out something that's tried and true just because something comes along that's flashy or whatever. And then I also like the part that, but if we have to, I mean, if you can't change and you're in education, you're going to fall at the wayside. You've got to be able to pivot when you need to. So I think that says all of that.
Okay, good. All right. And so to move forward, we've got some great suggestions, some good edits we're going to make. And first thing we're going to get to you is the planning and logistics document with all the agendas and the dates so you can review and see that. I know Dr. De La Torre wants you to start putting names together. So we're going to make sure we get that ASAP. I'm going to kind of light a fire under y'all to get that going because we got to get them invited.
Because if you let me do it, I'll just go out and I'll ask the principals, who's the nicest parent in your district that just kind of goes along with everything? I need them. Hey, and just real quickly, the meetings would be 10/29, 12/3, 1/14, 2/4. You would be done by March 4th under the current model.
Yes.
Is that early enough?
Great.
Yeah, that way we're done by March, not April.
Okay. So we'll get you that document, and then these edits we'll send for your final review. This information will be presented to the committee the first night. It's kind of like their jumping off point. So here's where we are. It's all brand new. We're going to unveil it. I think communications is going to do some things about printing it for us on banners, and we're going to have it in the room. So it's like the focal point when they walk in. Like here we are. It's like, opening night, you might say. And then we'll move forward with the work. But this will be a big presentation to them on that first night when they come together. So moving forward, I would love for us to just go around the room and share what you've seen at your campus visits and, tie it into this. This is all about moving forward and the 5-year plan and being strategic. What do you want to see come out of this plan as it pertains to what you've seen on the campuses so far that you've been in? And I'm not going to start a certain place. I'm just going to let you start, whoever wants to jump in and go first. Mr. Ochoa selects Mr. Dwyer.
This year, Dr. De La Torre, Dr. Cohen, and I visited our high schools and middle schools, Eastwood High School, Eastwood Knowles, and Eastwood Middle. When I walk into or onto a campus, I'm always very happy at the vibes you get when you walk in. So many times, you walk into I walk into a campus and I see the teachers engaged. I see the students engaged. I see smiles, and I just feel like, okay, this is a very good, very safe, secure, clean environment for these children to be in. It is just a great experience every campus I walk into, and I'm looking forward to visiting the 4 elementary schools after this break that's coming up. Again, I give so much credit to the administrators, whether it's Bonita Torres, Robert Brulero, Steven Zuviapte at Eastwood Middle, the jobs they do and the hard work I see. We'll be there and the bell will ring for classes changing, and I'm just really impressed with it. It seems like the students are, on a mission to get to their next class.
Yeah.
And it's good.
Yeah.
I'm just extremely happy when I visit our schools.
That's great. That's awesome. Thank you so much. That was great. Who'd like to go next? Okay. Yes, ma'am.
So my area has really gone through some pretty drastic changes as far as taking schools and combining them. And so I have to say, in the beginning, that was kind of my major concern, because even though these schools are all in the Bel Air area, they didn't necessarily have the same kind of culture, the same kind of flavor. It's kind of like he was saying, you walk into a school, and for me, I feel a different flavor at each campus. It's their own unique flavor. And so I have to say that I was really, really worried about some of these combinations, because some of the communities didn't necessarily even like each other that much. I mean, not that they fight or anything,
Sure.
but, there's a great loyalty to the schools that parents went to different children went to in their homes and stuff like that. And so my first opportunity to experience that combination where it was finally coming together was North Loop and Hacienda Heights. Used to, when I would go into North Loop, there was a feeling of fear in that school. And it wasn't because they were afraid of their safety and stuff like that. They were always terrified that we were going to close their school because the enrollment was so low. They were always terrified and their scores were not that good. I mean, they would crawl up to what we would call a B now, and then they'd fall back down into the C, and then they were just kind of all over the board. So after Hacienda Heights was consolidated with North Loop, at first it was kind of like you're going to feel when you see consolidations. But this last time when I got to go there was joy in that school. There was joy in that school. The kids were alive in that school. And it's like Dr. De La Torre said, it goes from your adults down into your student population. And the kids didn't sense the fear anymore. They just sensed the excitement that we are North Loop Elementary School, and we have nothing to fear here. We're going to rock this district. And then they came back, and they're one of my district's A schools now.
That's awesome.
I mean, it's just such a totally great feeling to see that happening, and see adults, see children, see everybody happy to be in school. Not that everybody's happy about school, I know that, but it's just, that was really special for me.
Sure.
So it gave me a lot of hope when it came to Sageland and Del Norte, and because they're still in the beginning stages of their journey, and we still have, I feel like there's still a little ways to go as far as making that a united campus. But it can happen. It did happen. And then Loma Terrace and Mesa Vista, that one I think has come along very fast. When I got to go visit that school, we were there during planning period for some of the teachers. And we got to go we went in there and we sat down and we just listened, and, it was very unique to get to see and hear the teachers and what they were planning and all of that. So I'm just very glad that I got to experience that, because it takes away the fear of seeing how it's going to happen over at Sageland, see how that Loma Terrace is coming along, and know that they can end up just like North Loop.
Right.
And
I love
that was
that.
really, really cool for me.
Because in this plan, I think it's going to provide the structure and the consistency to help those other campuses get there. And that's what we want to see as we build this out. So that's a great story. Excellence by design right there. Absolutely. I love it. Okay, who would like to go next? Yes, sir. Okay.
I have a different perspective of these campus visits because, as Dr. La Torre knows, that last year I proposed that, being the board president, that the board president should be visit all the schools in their district, because as board president, I do represent my own district, but we need, I need to know at least where these schools were located. I hear about the Parkland, about Eastwood, and I hear about all these schools when they come up and we see their names, but I actually wanted to go see them all. I haven't accomplished that, but I'm in the middle of that. I just had a little bit of a setback, but we're getting back to doing this again. What I learned on these campus visits was that even though the communities are a little different, the culture's a little different, but they all have the same opportunities, which I was so pleased. Just recently, having passed completed the bonds that we passed in renovating or building new schools, Eastwood High School is just phenomenal.
Oh, it's beautiful.
I mean, it is beautiful. And what they had, a hodgepodge of buildings and everything else over the years, and what they have now is just extraordinary. But then we went to Riverside Elementary School. They have a very nice school as well. And that was something that we as a board and Dr. Latorre should be proud of, that we transform our community, our schools bringing them into the 21st century. Yes, we need more schools to be renovated or rebuilt, but we're limited on resources, so we just have to wait until the next time that we can do a bond. But in the classroom, I think I saw across the board, like Connie said, that they had the same computers. These kids I saw 3-year-olds, 4-year-olds working on their computers, and they were just as happy as it. And I thought they were just working on something,
Mm-hmm.
It was actually something that was correlated to math. And I'm like, wow. And then they could sit there and talk to me and explain everything. It was just extraordinary. It was really nice. But then I also went to the engineering department in Parkland High School, and they have an extraordinary program there as well. Those students are just sharp. They're getting ready for their next step in whatever they might choose. But I saw that across the district. And then within my own district, of course, my high school and my middle schools and all my elementary schools. I mean, it's just extraordinary how we can maintain that kind of consistency across the board for all our schools. And I felt more comfortable because of that. And I hope that in the years to come, whoever is the board president continues this legacy of going to visit all the schools, maybe not in 1 year, but eventually, because they need to know what their district looks like. We all represent our own district, but when we sit up there, we not only represent our districts, but we represent everybody. So, but it was just an eye-opener. And of course, when you go visit schools, it's kind of like you're always shown the best. But I always kind of veer off a little bit, and I peek in another classroom that I wasn't scheduled to go in. No surprises.
Yep.
It's still the same. It's still the same, which makes me confident that that school it's okay. It's doing okay.
Right.
And that's a testament to what the administrators and the teachers are doing. They're all in this. They're all working together instead of being, splintered. So
Yes, sir.
I think that's what makes Ysleta be successful, is working together.
Thank you so much. It was lovely. Mr. Bustillos?
I guess I'm gonna start mine with when I started 8 years ago. I was told when I was campaigning that they asked me where I was going campaigning for, and they said, I told them the Riverside area, and he goes, man, you're cursed. And I go, how so? He goes, your school is below the freeway, and it's below Alameda. And, that lit a fire. And, in these last 8 years, with the help of Dr. De La Torre, Ms. Sleeper, and Bobby and their team, we have built 2 schools, brand new schools for the community that's below I-10 and Alameda, a brand-new career center. And like President Ochoa with the funding, we're upgrading our middle school and our high schools. So I know that this board, which I'm very grateful for, and Dr. De La Torre's team have always been there for the Valley School. And yes, I get and I hear my community, we do want more, and that's just the natural process, right? And as I walk into classrooms, not only the classrooms, but my wife's a teacher, and I hear it. There's just the way our teachers teach, and they're given the tools now, especially with these new schools that are coming up, 21st century. Our kids have that. The engagement with the students. Every community is their own community, and they are getting their needs. I just love walking in. My principals are all about their kids. Their teachers are about their kids. Principals about their teachers that teach their kids. So when you see that, it makes you feel good, and everybody knows here I go to almost every event, and I run into Mr. Salgado from Parkland, and I see how he engages his people, his teachers, and his students. I mean, they're always involved. Amelia Garcia, she's the Ysleta principal. She does a great job for Ysleta, and she's always involved. I see her there. I tell these principals, like, I bless your hearts, because you guys are there. I think they really do have a bed at their
They live
at their
there,
campus,
right?
because
Yeah.
they're always
Yeah, always.
there, and they care for every kid. There's not one time what I can Bonita Torres that she knows which kids they are, and it's impressive to me to see that they know these kids by name.
By the name and the need.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that makes it so special here at Ysleta. And with that said, and this is, I know we've talked about this in the past, getting more attention in the news and getting out there, we do such great things, and that's what we need to share with our communities and the rest of this place in El Paso is we do amazing things for our students. Every kid, I can tell you, our principals, our teachers are really engaged in those kids. And for me, watching that, not only in my area, which we do, my principal at Riverside, he's bought in so much, Mr. Medina, he's brought his kids to Thomas Manor, which is one of our feeders.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how much he believes in what I have on my shirt, for the Valley. And that's what he believes in.
Mm-hmm.
And he believes in this community because he's teaching it, and he has his teachers teaching it. And for me, it's just, I'm really excited about it. I know I like the future, and I know that, again, with Dr. De La Torre and the consistency on having a superintendent, we are going to continue to rise and do well. So,
right.
And that's how I feel. So, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Hernandez?
Yes, by far, the greatest experience I've had as being a trustee are these campus visits. It's really the time where I feel the weight of the responsibility of what we do. And it's, you know it here, well, when you're at the campus with the students, especially the elementary kids.
I know.
For me.
It's emotional almost.
And you see the way the teachers
Yeah.
interact with them.
Mm-hmm.
It really takes it to another level. It makes me emotional. It really does. I just want to second what Trustee Bustillo said about being south of Alameda. We do have a chip on our shoulder. Our community feels different.
Yeah.
We do look at the other schools, and sometimes they feel it's not the same.
Mm-hmm.
I also want to second what President Ochoa said. I felt the same way, where I feel like I'm only being shown the best of the best. Like, these are the classrooms Trustee Hernandez needs to see. These are the students he needs to meet. The students I meet are phenomenal. I mean, they're going to very impressive colleges. I'm a little curious to see some of the challenges around. I know this too. I know I came in at a great time for the district. I am seeing what has been built over the past 10 years. And I walk in, I'm like, wow, everything's great. And I know it hasn't always been that way. I think that's a testament to Dr. De La Torre and the members of the board that have been here for years. And that makes this experience really easy, to be honest. One experience that was a little bit different was the new campus at Thrive, which is right in my neighborhood, like literally a couple of blocks from where I live. And I think that's a new challenge because the community doesn't understand what Thrive Academy is.
Okay.
I think there might be some misconceptions. That campus is built for a full functioning school with sport teams, which Thrive doesn't have at the moment. On my campus visit there, I was trying to see, well, how can we utilize this very nice baseball field that we have, this very nice gym that we have that really isn't being used. And one of my suggestions was to invite the community to be able to use it in different ways. I think we still need to talk through that. But I think that's one of the things members from my community that are participating in these committees might be exploring. And I wouldn't know this without campus visits.
Right.
So it's the most important thing I do in helping me be a good trustee and understand the work that is being done by our teachers, by our principals, and seeing the effect that it's having on the students.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you so much, all of you. Yes, sir. Did
Is
you
it my turn again?
Sure. If you need another turn, you go right ahead.
Yeah.
Mr. Dwyer.
There is just something. When I visit these campuses, I want to walk in there with an extremely positive attitude, and I want to congratulate and thank principals and administrators. For example, when I went to Eastwood 2 years ago, Eastwood High School 2 years ago, their average daily attendance was 88%. Last year, they got it up to 93.4, which is a 5% increase. And I emphasized to everybody I talked to at the schools how important that average daily attendance is. So I congratulated Bonita Torres on that. And then I always was positive towards her and her administration and the teachers and everybody involved. Eastwood High School is the only 6A school in the area that had an A rating. That includes their test scores. And I want to walk in with a very positive attitude. When I went to Eastwood Middle, the same thing. 2 years ago, their average daily attendance was like 87. Last year, they increased it to a 93. And I wanted Mr. Zuby out there, and I wanted to bring enthusiasm and let him know that they're appreciated. You know, their administration, their teachers, their auxiliary paraprofessional staffs. So I like to walk in with a positive attitude, and I think that's extremely important. Just to I want them to know that on one of the bullets you mentioned trustees being engaged in what's going on. I found out recently that Eastwood High School has 1,200 students involved in extracurricular activities. My wife and I were talking about that last night, just out of the blue. I feel like that's extremely important, and I let the administrations know how proud I am and how enthusiastic I am about everything that they're doing. With that said, again, I want them to know that I'm involved and that I'm keeping up with what they're doing and the wonderful jobs that they're doing.
That's great. Thank you. I love that. Appreciate it. Here's the thing. you're advocates, boils down to it. You might be school board members, but number one, you're advocates. And everybody in this district's an advocate, and you're advocating for your students. And everything you do has to point back to that. Every decision you make up there, everything you talk about in your communities, every action you take has got to be about students. And so when I hear these things around this table, there is so much pride from all of you about your schools and what's happening in the district. It's just beaming from you, and I love that. And I know you don't get a big paycheck to sit here. You might get a nice breakfast and get to be with me on a Saturday morning, but you're doing this because you love it and it's what you want to do. And sometimes it's thankless and sometimes it's tiring, but you still show up. And that's what this strategic plan means to me. It's like, here we're going to just take it one step further. And I always think of y'all when I think of that saying, one step further, because that's what Ysleta does. And so I appreciate your thoughts and your feedback. I think those visits are very powerful. And I'm going to tell you that from a former administrator, a former teacher, when the school board would come to our school, that was a big deal. And so the time that you spend doing that, please understand it means a lot to them as well. It really does. So as we close up this morning and let Dr. De La Torre say a few words after I finish, but we are kicking off on Tuesday, October 29th with the committee. We're going to get you the planning guide with all of the agendas and all of the dates. We're going to update the items that we discussed today and get those back to you ASAP so we can prepare them for the committee. And once again, it is definitely my honor to be asked to lead your community through this process and to work with your district and to know that all of these outcomes are going to make your student experience so much better. So with that, I'll turn it back to Dr. De La Torre.
Just a couple things. The first is, I think, Trustee Hernandez is absolutely right. It's one thing to go on school visits with me and Brenda in tow, and it does, I think, it has an impact on the principal and the teachers that they feel that it's really formal, and so they may be less likely to be themselves. I think if you get chances, there is nothing, and I know some of you already know this, there's nothing to preclude you from calling a principal anytime you want and saying, hey, I happen to be in the neighborhood. I've got a little bit of time. Would now be a good time to stop by? And as long as the principal says, hey, we're not doing testing or anything like that, I think that is a truer barometer of what's happening at the school on a Thursday afternoon when they were not expecting to have you visit. And it helps us because obviously when we go, most of the time they know we're coming and preparations are made, right? Matter of fact, even when they don't know you're coming, by the time you get past the vestibule, the phone tree is taken off. There's like people are putting their shoes back on, putting their flip-flops in their purse, and I mean it's like, so by the time you get there, it's already too late. So, but I do encourage you that if anytime you want, you do not need our permission. People like Charlie, they're always on campus, and so what happens is it just becomes natural, right? Wife works in the district. He had 3, student athletes. Connie had 10, and so they've known for a long time what it's like in the building. But if you haven't had a chance to just drop in on them and stuff and start getting to know them, you learn things, and then by virtue of you learning some things, because sometimes it's going to make you want to go, I got to call De La Torre. This is bullshit, right? Hey, I just left, and then you're like, oh my God, who let him on campus? No. But I think it's a good way to do it, and I think it also says to them, I'm interested enough to come on my own time without having made arrangements and preparations and, having a little. Most of you will get a little sign that says, welcome, trustee so-and-so. I just rolled in. I just want to know. I want to see what's happening. The other thing is I think with Thrive, because there are some misconceptions that it may be a school for, students who have not had success in our schools, and in some cases there's some truth to that, but they sometimes get a little nervous about whether there's legal issues, some behavioral issues, and do they have a school here right in the middle of our nice, quiet community? What I may recommend to Dr. Lozano is that maybe there be an open house, not just for parents, but an open house for the entire community to come in. And then separate and apart from that would be, okay, they do have 2 gyms. They've got one gym that is, relatively unused and brand new because we built it during the first bond that just sits there. They've got good fields. One of the things that we may be able to do is reach out to the YWCA or the YMCA and say, hey, you've got programs around the city. Would you all be interested in entering into some kind of an agreement where if the terms and conditions work and if it adheres to what we can do as a school district, you have leagues, low-cost leagues, free leagues for the kids, the teenagers of this community to be part of a basketball league or even an adult basketball league or an adult softball league, things like that, and say, could we work together on something like that? Initially, that facility would have been a beautiful home for the Young Women's Leadership Academy. They, for whatever reason, didn't find it attractive, and now that you go out there, it's very attractive, and it would have been ideal. And then the last thing, damn it, I need names. I need names, 5, 6, 7, because what I want to do before we get going down this little rabbit hole is I want you to know who's going to be in the room from all of your areas so that these are the 5, 6, 7 people that Chris has asked to be involved. Charlie has asked these people to be involved. These are the principals involved. And so before we go down there and before they're ready to go, if there's a problem, then, and I think I said it earlier, I said, it doesn't have to necessarily be people who are super fond of us right now. Sometimes you learn more from the people that are super critical of you. And in fact, we made sure that when we were working on Bond 15 and Bond 19, that the biggest naysayers were in the room. Say it now instead of running all over your neighborhood telling anybody you're not voting for the bond because you're misinformed and nobody has had the courtesy to invite you in and help you understand. So this process can be very powerful. It will be the third 5-year plan that we've developed. We had division initially. Check, you did it. Then you had the encore, which was let's do more of what we did. 2019, check, got the resources, you've done it. Now it's going to be a little bit less about new buildings and probably more about improving buildings and facilities and remodernizations within a finite set of resources, not an infinite set of resources, because we currently don't have a lot of capacity to go out and pursue a bond. And not only that, something tells me that over the next couple of years, our community is going to be inundated with bonds and tax increases. And I'm hoping the economy gets better, but if it doesn't, we can learn from how the community is reacting to the YISD plan to become a destination district, and that comes with a bond. The hospital's going out for a bond. Socorro has started talking about a bond because their growth has picked up again, those type of things. And so this is where you get to put your stamp, your signature on what happens over the next 5 years. And when you get to say, hey, look, we brought people in and they told us these 7 things, these 8 things should be our focus and our priority. What you're talking about is interesting, but it didn't get surfaced at the meeting, and we have to be true to our constituents. So with that, I want to thank you all for being here this Saturday morning. If you can get me that information, we'll put something together like a packet for you so you get a chance to sit there and go, okay, these are the people that are going to come to us with some recommendations. I feel good about it. I don't feel good about it. However you may react. But Lizzie does a great job. She does this for a living. It's not her first rodeo, and she'll get us through it.
Yeah, thank you. For this list, can you provide, because they're going to ask us, what are we there for? So if you can provide a brief description of what their role is in these committees that we're, something, yeah, just, say this is part of the strategic planning. They're going to say, well, what's that? And then you got to, So if we could have something that we could just show him and then say, this is what I'm asking you to be part of this process. I think it would make it a lot easier on us to recruit, the community members that we want on this board.
Okay, yeah, we can do that, absolutely.
And if it can happen fairly quick, because we need, October 29th is.
I know, and Halloween's like 2 days after that. That's where people are going to be focused on. And if sometimes if you just think there'd be someone great and you don't know them personally, or give us the name and I'll reach out and I'll say, I'm reaching out on behalf of Miss Connie Woodruff. She's been on the board for, ever. And of all the people that she thought of for this process, is she thought of you. And that way, you don't have all the burden of saying, okay, first I got to identify who I'd like. Then I got to go out and find time to meet them or get their contact information or call them. No, just say, I'd like Cassandra Hernandez to be part of this. She's always had, some interest in the district. I'll call her. I'll say, hey, so-and-so, Charlie Bustillos brought you up, said you're very involved. You obviously have kids in the district. I know you're super busy, but would you have time to, and here are the dates, and they're going to go 2 hours, no more? That kind of thing. I was just using that as an example, Charlie. I mean, that was just for illustrative purposes. Just kidding. No, it's fine. Like I said,
Really quick, Dr. De La Torre, thank you for everything you said. Really appreciate that. And quick question, is this for 6 p.m.? Or when is the? So we're starting at 5:30. And then was it said that all of the dates would be sent to us? Is it the last Tuesday of every month? Okay, but we're going to get all the dates, and they're all starting at 5:30 p.m.? 6 is the meeting? So they can get there at 6 if... Okay, I mean, some of them, because of work, I know I'm going to get that. And then the meeting ends at 8, and it's one a month. Okay, yeah, I just want anybody who I ask to fully know what they're committing to. Okay, wonderful, thank you.
Anybody else have any closing remarks or before we adjourn?
Actually, I do, just because we've been through this experience when we did the bond. And I really, truly believe that doing it the way we did led to success for those bonds. And by involving all of the people from all over the district, I feel like we're in a really good spot with that.
I hate to bring it up. We've done it both ways. Some of you have spouses that are obviously very involved in the district, very familiar with what's going on at their respective sites. The last time we went out for bond, one of the conversations was, are the spouses usually eligible to be a participant in this process? And the answer is, it's up to you as a board.
I'm just going to say, because I know my husband participated in the bond, but he won't be participating in this one. He's too busy, believe it or not. So,
Well, I look for diversity as far as whoever I choose. I mean, we could easily ask people we know or friends and everything, but which is okay. But I'd rather have somebody that I really, really don't know, but I've seen them at various community meetings or whatever. Then I'd like to, be more diversified in my selection as well. Again, getting back to this strategic action plan, it's a very important document for the district. It's a very important document for the board, because 5 years from now, we don't know where we're going to be. I mean, 5 years ago, we've gone through a lot of changes and situations that really affected our district in such a way. I mean, the pandemic, the safety because of it hit close to home here with a Walmart shooting. And it just has, I mean, back then we didn't even think of all those things. But now, because of our times, things have changed. And who knows, hopefully it'll be better things in the future that might influence our strategic plan. As you pointed out, it's a living document. So, even the way, like Dr. Las Torres said, the way that we're being rated now, I mean, that changed within, like, overnight. So all these things we have to keep in mind, that this strategic action plan has to be more in broad terms than specific terms. Although the specific terms are good, because that's how we're going to evaluate our superintendent. But we just got to be, when we will get these committees to input their stuff and everything. Again, I choose that we have some way of evaluating the whatever it is that we're going to evaluate, Dr. La Torre, that has metrics that are both, subjective, but also something that we can measure metric-wise, that will have, not only for him, but for us, a great impact as to how the community views us over the coming years. So, but I thank everybody for coming here today. I know it was hard on me. I mean, 8 o'clock on Saturday morning. I mean, but we're here and we're done. And then I said, I'll expect my paycheck in the mail, okay? So.
Take some food with you.
Okay. But thank you all, everybody for coming here today and being part of this, because this is something that we're going to have our stamp on for years to come. And that's going to be, as the board we are now, that reflects on us. And whoever is in the board later years, they're going to look back and say, well, okay, how did those guys do it? So I think we have a big impact in the future with this. So, being said, I know you want to go home and watch the game, huh?
Let's go.
Yeah. So thank you. If there's nobody else has anything to say, can I hear the word? Adjourn.